Good morning, everyone. This is Karen. I see some of you were early birds. Thank you for being so prompt. We'll be getting started. I've got about 50 people coming today, so I'm going to leave everybody some time to get on board. Could you give me a thumbs up or put something in the Q&A if you can hear me okay? Hey, Missy, can you hear me?
I can. You were breaking up a little bit.
Okay, let's fix it. Missy, does this sound any better now?
Sounds great. Much
Okay,
clearer.
perfect. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch of attendees getting on board. We're going to be starting in about 10 minutes. I've got about 50 people signed up. So I thank you, those of you that showed up nice and prompt and early. But we will be starting at promptly at noon Eastern time. And Missy, you can see the chat window or the Q&A. Okay.
I can. Yep, I've got it open.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Missy, does that look better?
Yes.
See, that's what I need you for.
Gotta earn my keep. Oh.
Hello, everybody. It's Karen again. I have quite a few people that have registered for this webinar. And unlike you, they want to slide in at the last minute. I will be waiting until the stroke of 12 Eastern to start the webinar officially. In the meantime, if you have any questions, I have the Zoho equivalent of Vanna White online with me. Her name is Miss Missy. And so if you have any questions, she will be reading those questions throughout the webinar, stopping me to make sure we can go back and elaborate. So if there's any questions you have, please type away, whether it's about a slide, it's about something else that you're thinking of, and I will promise to stay on board. The presentation should take about 30 minutes, but I am going to stay on board until we get all those questions answered. And if there's something that you stumped the star with that I just don't know, I promise I will get back to you and find out the answer for you. Little bit of a disclaimer. I did this presentation was originally going to be on some of the new features that have been recently added to Zoho. I started working on these slides, or actually Missy started working on the slides. We just came up with some really great content that we feel we hadn't covered before. So I promise you that the next webinar in March will be going over those new features. Today, because I like to keep my presentations to 30 minutes, about 30 slides. Today, we will be going over 10 essential Zoho CRM tips. These are things that I think are so essential to using Zoho, but that unfortunately some of you have overlooked or haven't found or just didn't understand what they were for. So I'm going to be trying to go over all of those great tips. And if any of you have one that I haven't come across, I'd love to hear about it. Maybe we could do this in the future with other tips that some of you guys have found. So I've got about half of the attendees signed up. I'm showing it's 12. So we are going to begin. And again, my name is Karen Fredericks. My company is Tech Vendors. I know most of you personally, but for the few of you that I don't know, hello and welcome to the Wednesday webinar series. So before we get started, here's the keys to the kingdom. When you go into Zoho, we have setup. Now, most of you have the old-fashioned setup, which shows up at the top here, and you have a gear shift, or as I like to call it, a rosebud. Some of you have the newer Zoho layout, and you're going to find that down in the bottom left-hand corner. It doesn't matter which way you get to it. When you hit that setup, it's going to take you to all these setup options that you have here. Now, some of you may find as we go through some of these features, you can't do that. And that's because when your user was set up, if you're not the admin user, you were given certain roles and profiles and permissions. You may not have those. Your administrator may not have given you some of these permissions. So if you're trying to follow something that we have here, it might, and you don't have it, it's probably a result of you not being having the ability to get in there. I was actually working with a client last week on reports, and someone had taken away the ability to create reports for every user in the database, including the admins. So I never quite know, people have been playing around with those profiles. You may find that, something may not be available to you, but if it is, that would just be the case of those profiles. So the first tip is to make layouts per department or user. Now, if you're a single user of Zoho, this isn't going to make a whole lot of difference. But I know we've got MicroCAD on board. We have a lot of people from Sinorama on board. A lot of you have MicroCAD has about, I think, close to 75 users. And I would suspect that all of you don't need to be seeing your layouts in the same way. So maybe your salespeople need to see different fields than do your service people or your accounting people or your implementation people. You can build out different layouts so that they don't have to go through all these fields that someone rarely, if ever, uses, which is just annoying. They have to scroll through fields that you don't use. And you can assign those layouts to a profile or you can assign them to specific users. And the idea is that you organize your fields into logical sections that make sense for you. Not what makes sense for everybody else, but what makes sense for you. So again, if you have lots of users, you probably want to start creating some of those additional layouts. Very easy to do it. Again, we go into that setup area, we go into the customization area, and you're going to see modules and fields. The main layout, the mothership layout, is called standard. You do not change that. You do not get rid of that. If you're adding new fields, you probably want to add those to the standard layout. Then what you could do is go into the standard layout and create a new layout. Or you can even go into that existing standard layout and clone it. You'll see 3 little dots that will appear there. You can hit clone. And that's when you give it a name. Like in this case, it was really original. We called it my new layout as opposed to my old taggy layout. And this is where you can just take any of these fields. You can click on it and delete it. It does not delete the field from your database. All it does is remove the field from your layout so that if you don't need to see vendor names, if you don't need to see titles, if you don't need to see departments, we can customize this so that you only see the fields that you want to see. Okay, a couple of bonus tips is that we're going to be talking about pick lists and multi-select fields a little bit later in the presentation, but we have something called a subform. So a subform, I see a lot of people that have a database and they'll go into Joe Brown and we look at his contact record and they have Joe Brown policy 1. Then we have policy 2 and then policy 3. Then we might have policy 16. We might have policy number 18. I was dealing with somebody that had serial numbers and they had serial numbers and the date. Some people had 5 serial numbers. Some people had 6 serial numbers. Some people had no serial numbers. But we had all those fields and someone just kept adding new fields and adding new fields. That's kind of what a subform is. I think good examples of a subform would be for serial numbers or insurance policies. You could just create a couple of different fields here and you could say, policy 1, expiration date, start date, and just have a little table within a table for your fields. Okay. Tip number 2, use a custom list view. I love custom list views. I will tell you, I am addicted to my custom list views. And if you are not using custom list views, you are missing the banana boat on Zoho. Custom list views are super easy to create. We can make them for any of our modules. So we can make them for contacts. We can make them for deals. We can make them for leads. We can make them from accounts. So the way you make a custom list view is you go over here, like I'm looking at the contacts right now. It says all contacts. And I hit that drop down and I scroll down. It says a new custom view. Custom list views consist of 2 elements. The one element is a filter. Who do you want to see? If you're finding you're constantly going in and finding, who do I have a current project that I'm working on? Or who are all my customers in Texas? You want to make a custom list view because you don't want to keep doing that over and over again. So part of it is a query. So my query here doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but the mailing state is Texas. Mailing city is not empty. In other words, it has a mailing city. Maybe I'm using this for labels, and if they don't have a city, I can't use them. And I want to make sure that the email is not empty. So that's my query. The other part of your list view is the fields you want to see. Over here, you're going to see all the fields in your database. So if you've created 35 fields, you're going to see through all 35 of your fields over here. This is simply a drag and drop, and then you can align them by dragging and drop in the order that you want them to appear. Now, this is for the contact module I'm working with, so it does make sure that I have to either have the contact name or the last name. I could use either or. I don't have to have both. I could use one or the other. So when I save this custom layout, again, I can give this custom layout whatever name I want. Here's the name up here. I could hit this little star to make it a favorite if it's something I'm going to be using all the time. And down here, I can assign that custom list view to just me, to everyone. I can give it out to everyone, or just to select users. So maybe Rob is using all the, or is responsible for the Texas or the Southwest area. He might have a custom list view that includes Texas and Arizona and maybe even contacts with his name on it. And it's just assigned to Rob. And maybe Susie needs the ones for Florida and Alabama and Georgia, and she could have a custom list view only assigned to Susie, or maybe to Susie and her manager. So they could be assigned. So why am I so excited about these silly custom list views? They're used all over Zoho. So first of all, on the simplest level, it's just great to find repeating data, the queries that I'm using all the time. But we can also use them for exporting your data. So I have a lot of people that do certain exports once a week, once a month, maybe to a mail house, maybe to a manager, and they need to export it. We can export our custom views very easily. They're also used for emailing. So maybe you're emailing different segments of your population. That would be a great reason to have a custom list view, because you could just send right to those. I have one for the Zoho users group. So when I send you all those invitations, I go up there and I say, hey, send this invitation to everybody in that Zoho user group list view. They can be used for updating a large number of contacts. When you have a custom list view, we can do a mass update. So maybe you need to mass update and change the record manager for all those contacts, or maybe you want to change the state, or change something. Again, we can have frequently used ones that we indicate with a star, and we can also add them to our home page. Did someone say homepage? What a good segue. Thank you. So tip number 3 is there's no place like a fully customizable home. Yes, I'm a little corny, but I love them on homepage. So my homepage can consist of all kinds of charts, reports, KPIs, open tasks, deals. You can make these custom homepages by profile. You can send them to specific users, and you can reorder and resize them. So here you could, I should have done a little bit better job of this, but you can see I can have small boxes that just have a number. So here's all my open deals. This is an 8. If I click on the 8, it's going to give me a list of all my open deals. And yes, if I click further, if I drill down further on those open deals, I can open up any one of those deals individually. Most people create little components like this, kind of like a quarter size component. You can also have a component that goes all the way from left edge to right edge. And again, you can put in the things that are most important to you. Now, we just talked about those custom list views. You might have renewals that are due on a certain time, or maybe you have implementations that you're working on and you want to have that list. You move that list over to your custom list view or your homepage. The other cool thing is any report, and I mean any report that comes out of Zoho, if you want, you can add the report right to your homepage, or if you'd rather have a chart, just about any report can be taken into a chart. Like some of them aren't going to look quite as good, but any report that has kind of like subheadings, you could convert to a chart. You just open up the report, hit that little convert to a chart button, then you can put the chart as part of your homepage, and then you can drill right down on all of these items. Tip number 4 is to reorder or customize your related lists. Your related lists are the things that appear on the side of the screen of any record. So if I'm going to my contacts and I open up a contact record, I will see a related list off to the side. If you don't see it, you might have hidden it, and there's a little button that would be over here next to related list that, lets you slide it out of the way and bring it back. You can't permanently delete it, but some of you have hidden it. So when you go on that related list, it's going to show you all these different areas. So notes, if you click on notes, it takes you to the notes section. Or open activities, if you click on open activities, it takes you to the open activities section. Now, some of you may not, maybe you don't work with deals, or maybe you don't ever send meeting invitations, and you just like to simplify this list. You hit this supposed to be a hamburger. It's a little, I'll call it a smash burger because it's really not a true hamburger icon. But you click the hamburger icon up there, it's going to open it up. And everything on the left-hand side are the things you're not looking at right now. Everything on the right-hand side is what you are looking at. So if you want to delete or remove one of them, you just click on it. Say you don't want to work with deals, you click on deals and hit this left pointing arrow. If you say, hey, I don't know what campaigns are, but I think I want to know what they are, you just click on campaigns and hit the right pointing arrow. Okay, easy peasy. Now, the other thing that's cool about these areas in the related list is, for example, if I clicked on campaigns and it shows me campaigns and it gives me a number of fields to go across the top. You don't have to just sit there and take those fields. You get to change those as well. So to change those fields that appear for any one of these related areas, you just go and you're going to see this. I don't know what it's called. I'll call it a crazy square. That's your column customizer. That's this thing way over here on the right-hand side. You can click on that and it will show you all the fields that you're seeing under campaigns. And you can unclick something. So if you don't need to see status, you could unclick it. If you want to change one of these columns, you could just drag and drop them right from here and make it your own. So if you're looking at activities and you want to, or tasks or whatever it is, and you want to see them in a certain order, that's up to you. There is nothing really in Zoho that can't be customized for easier access. Okay, so the cool thing about those lists is you can move the most used ones to the top. Most of you use notes quite a bit, so you might want to move the notes up to the top. If there's things in there that you don't use, deals, social, whatever, get rid of them. You can customize those columns to show just the like I showed you, just to show the essential fields. And you can do this to make sure that you're seeing your priorities, to make sure that the stuff that you want to see is front and center. Okay, tip number 5, enrich your data with Zaya. I know you've all heard of artificial intelligence. It's a big thing. It's blown up over, I'd say, the last year. Zoho has had Zaya, which is their form of artificial intelligence. I guess it would have been better to be ZAI, but they call it Zaya. They've had it for, I'm going to say, at least 5 years. They keep adding more and more things to this feature. Now, the first thing you want to make sure is that you have it turned on. I'm also going to say, full disclosure, not all versions of CRM have the same Zaya features. If you're on Zoho 1, which includes Zoho Enterprise, CRM Enterprise version, you have all the Zaya features. If you're using standard or professional, you may not have all of them. Okay, I don't have it memorized. I don't have it committed to memory which features are there. But if you're seeing something is missing, it's probably because you're on a lower, or maybe even a free version of CRM, and it might not have it. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you turn it on. So you go to setup and you go over here to Zaya. It's under the developer hub, Zaya, and you can turn it on for all your modules, leads, contacts, accounts. Okay, that's a data enrichment. And the way this works is now you go over to either an account where you go to a company and you open it up, you hit the little ellipsis, 3 little dots, and you're going to see an item that says enrich data. Okay, the way this works is Zaya is going to go out to the internet and it's going to find information. Now, if you haven't learned by now that you have to take artificial intelligence with a grain of salt. You can't just say it's gospel. For example, I was trying to update an account the other day, looked it up, and it said they were in the Netherlands, which was great, except I know that they're in Pittsburgh. That might have been the parent company. I don't know, but you want to take it with a grain of salt. The other thing that I can tell you, this information is based on a contact's website or their email address. So if you go into a company and you don't have a website, it's not going to update it. If you go into a contact and their email address is Yahoo or Google, it's not going to update it. It's looking for a corporate email address or corporate website. That's what it's basing its search on. So go over here and you're going to hit the ellipsis and hit enrich data. So here's an example. It went out and it said, okay, here's an email address you might want to use. Here's a phone number you want to use. Here's a website you could update to. Here's a street. I already had the street. Apparently there was a conflict. This is what I had. This is what it suggested. Here it wants to, I had one state here. It had a different state here. I get to click on the things that I want to update. If none of them look good, uncheck them all. If they all look good, check them all. But this is how it's going to update your information. You hit update and it's going to update your information magically. Okay, tip number 6. And Missy, I'm going to stop here for a minute. Do we have any questions? Does anybody put anything in the Q&A?
Nothing yet.
Oh boy, you guys are either sleeping or you're in awe. I mean, please, when you have questions, please ask them. This is your chance. So I like to say, don't overlook the navigation bar at the bottom of the screen. And of course, to make this really confusing for you, I put the navigation bar at the top of the slide. But this is what you see at the bottom of Zoho. And a lot of people overlook this. And there's some really cool stuff down there that I really like. Now on mine, this was from mine, so mine might look a little bit different than yours. I got 2 things that you guys might not have. I use Sales IQ. That's my little chat bot. If you go into my website and you have a question and you type in the question, it comes back to me and it ends up back in my CRM. I see what your question is. I can get back to you. However, I don't always have the bandwidth to sit there and answer your questions right when you are there. So I turn off Sales IQ so I can't see it. However, I can tell when I look at the bottom of my Zoho screen how many people are currently fishing around my website. So every so often I'll go in there and I'll see like 10 people, usually after I send out an invitation to a webinar or something like that. If I want, I can turn on Sales IQ and start answering chat questions. But this one's telling me who's on my website right now. This one over here, phone, I have my CRM system tied in to my VoIP phone system. So I can actually, I don't do this very often, but I can click on this if I want to make a phone call. So that's why I've got that. You might not have it. Usually I click on the phone number right in the contacts record to make my call. So I actually have Ask Saya. Now, some of you might not have Ask Saya. I was so proud of, I think it's somebody on the, I think it's Kelly that's on the call. She wanted to do an import. And I said, how'd you do it? She said, I asked Saya. She literally clicked on Ask Saya and she typed in her question, or maybe she used the voice command and how do I import contacts? And it told her how to do it. How cool is that? Now, some of you won't have that feature if you're in the lower versions. But you can go in there and ask Zaya how to do things. That's kind of what she's for. I guess she's a girl. Maybe she's a guy. Not really sure. But how do I import data? How do I do a mail merge? You've got the ability to ask those questions. I don't use this one. I don't know if some of you would. This is the sticky note. And this is exactly what it looks like. It's a sticky note. You can change the color. So if you're one of these people that's sitting right now with a sticky note stuck on your monitor, you can make a sticky note and it'll keep that adhesive from going all over your monitor, which is always a nice thing. But you have little sticky notes. It'll appear on the top of your screen. Pet peeve, these 2 buttons look alike and I forever get them mixed up. This one is the activity reminders. If you've got reminders like tasks and you set up reminders for them, when you go into Zoho, of course, you're going to see it on your homepage. Your reminders are going to, flip up in the air. A lot of times, like everybody else, I hit the snooze button. I minimize my reminders, don't want to see them. But if I have reminders, it's going to tell me how many things are lurking in my database. And all I have to do is click on that. And it's going to bring my reminders, back to the surface. nice feature. This feature I love, love, love. The only thing I don't like about it is the fact that I don't love the icon. I don't know why these two are so similar. This one gives you your recent items. I know I'm not alone in this. I'm working with Yvonne here, or let's say I'm working with Melanie Thompson. Working with Melanie, phone rings. It's a really important call. I have to take it. I stop working with Melanie for a minute. Then maybe I get an email. It's like, oh my gosh, I got another fire I got to burn out. I got to put out. Then I go into the internet to look for some information. Well, that might be a rabbit hole that I didn't wish to go down. And 20 minutes later, it's like, where was I? I don't know where I was. So I can go over here to my recent items and it'll kind of refresh me. Like, who was I looking at? Oh, that's right. I was working with Melanie. And I just click on her name and her contact just pops up. Cool thing about this, even if you turn off Zoho, you leave, you shut off your computer, go back in the next day, turn on Zoho, those recent items will show up again. I'm not quite sure. I think they give you 10, maybe it's 12. I haven't really researched it that highly. I usually go back like 3 or 4 is, kind of my point. But if you don't clear out your cookies, they're going to be there the next day and they're going to stay there. And of course, as you start looking at other contacts, these people will move farther down the list and your new items will show up. Very cool feature. Okay, tip number 7. Yes, me.
Steve typed in that he has a question on Zaya. Did you want to unmute him and let him ask it?
You know what? I'd rather if you could just type it in. It'd be a lot easier. If we could. Do we have any other questions?
That's it so far.
Okay, perfect. So tip number 7 is the recycle bin. Yes, we have a recycle bin. I know a lot of you came from an ACT environment. In ACT, it was extremely easy to delete a bunch of contacts. I can tell you that Zoho, it's a little bit harder to delete contacts, in mass. You could. I mean, you might go in and do one of those custom lookups and you hit select all and you meant to do a mass update, but instead you hit delete and you deleted that entire lookup query. And oh, that is not a fun feeling to have deleted something. So again, we go into the setup area, data administration, recycle bin. And here is your recycle bin. And of course, I never empty my recycle bin. Stuff seems to hang out there. I think it's, well, here it tells you they'll be stored for 60 days. So I don't worry about it. Eventually they'll disappear from my recycle bin. But if I want to bring something back, you can go down here and you've got this filter button. It's this, I don't know, looks like a golf tee to me. You hit this little filter button and you could just filter it down for contacts. You could filter it down by date. You could just bring back notes. Maybe you want to bring back, I had somebody that wanted to get rid of all their notes. They had just horrible notes. I wanted to get rid of all their notes. So we literally deleted all the contacts and then we restored the contacts without the notes. So all kinds of stuff that we can do with that recycle bin. And then all you have to do is decide, just click on what you want to bring back, hit restore, and back it comes. Tip number 8 is backups. Very misunderstood feature in Zoho. Everybody's data is being backed up. It's being backed up every minute, every second of every day. We have recurrent redundant servers in Zoho. So should they have a problem, and if you're in the United States, your data is in the United States, it's not being hosted, in a third party. If something happens to one of those servers, because hardware does malfunction, you probably would be without your data for about 0.01 of a second, because it's just going to automatically move you to the next server, which is already up and running. So you don't have to worry about backups. These backups are more for you because you want to play with your data, or you want a good way to be able to see your data. First thing I can tell you is these backups come in a zip file. But the cool thing about your backups is they are CSV files, Excel files. So when you do a backup, you get a backup for every entity. So you get a file for your notes. You get a file for your contacts. You get a file for your accounts. You get a file for every one of your entities in that zip file. You get 2 free backups per month. Now you can buy more. I just had somebody the other day. I don't know why they wanted to have a backup sent to them every single day. They're just under $10 per backup. So if you need more backups sent to you, that's fine. You have 2 options for your backups. And by the way, these backups I very often use, and this is probably the only time I use my backups, is to clean up my data, which I'm going to show you in a minute. So again, we can go in there. You can have your backup sent to you twice a month, which they say is recommended. What happened, I had this set for a long time in my database. What would happen is twice a month, I would get an email and it would have my backup that I could download. And twice a month, I would delete that email and never do anything with it because honestly, I didn't really need my backups for anything. What I think is the smarter way to do it is just have it set to download immediately. So if the inkling, if you've got a yearning all of a sudden to clean up some data in your database and you want to use a backup file to do that, just have it set to download immediately. Hit download, and it gives you this message that's going to take a while. Usually that while is about 5 seconds. And then you just go over here and you can hit download here. Or if you go back a few days later, you can download the zip file, unzip the file, and there's all your data. Now, if the reason these are so cool to fix your data. Let's say you have one of these databases, which I see a lot, that your states sometimes are 2 digits and sometimes they are the entire state. So sometimes I have Florida and sometimes I have FL. Sometimes I have Texas and sometimes I have TX. Maybe you decide, you know what, by golly, by gee, I'm going to update all of my states. Yeah, you could do mass updates through Zoho, to the mass update thing, but you're going to have to look up Texas and fix those and look up Florida and fix those. You can take your backups file and you can just do edit, replace, sort them, see the ones that are wrong, edit, replace, you see all your data right there. And then when you're done, you save that file and you re-import it. And when you re-import it, you match by that record ID. Theoretically, we could match by email, but you might have people in your database that don't have email addresses. You shouldn't have any duplicate emails, but there's always that possibility. So matching by this record ID is just a super, super great way to be able to take your data out, use that backup, clean up the data, and import it back in. Now, as a little FYI, there are 2 import methods. Just so you know, both methods can be undone. And if they don't work, we can see why the import failed. I get people all the time who decide they're going to import data. They send me an email and they go, my import didn't work. Well, I'm sorry, I can't help you because 1, I don't know what method you use to import. And 2, if it failed, there is a reason why it failed. And Zoho actually gives you a report that tells you the reason it failed. So don't ask me, ask Zoho, because they give you all those pieces that you need to the puzzle. So the 2 methods that we have are the one is the modular level. This is the one that you all should be using. This is the one you should be using if you want to update your information. You have a new spreadsheet what you want to bring in, or you want to update your information from a backup file. This is the one you find if you go up to create contacts, it'll say import contacts. If you go up to accounts, it'll say create account, import account. If you want to bring in leads, you could go into create lead, import leads. That's the one you should use. There's a fancy schmancy one that I use, and that's found under data administration import. Don't use that one, folks. Very confusing. You're not going to you're probably going to get things wrong. It's not the one you want. This is the one I use when I'm I'm moving someone from, say, Salesforce into Zoho, or I'm moving someone from Act into Zoho. That's the one that I use. It's a little bit fancier, but the one tip that I will tell you is if you go to this import, there'll be two little tabs. I don't think I took a screenshot of it, but it will show you your history. So that's where you're going to find all of the history of failed imports, and you can undo an import if you screwed it up. Okay, good way to know if you screwed it up. Let's say you have 2,000 contacts in your database and you want to fix the states on those 2,000 people. You do your import and you end up with 4,000 contacts. Good indication you screwed something up. So that would be a time that I would go into this import area and undo that import. And again, we can undo the imports whether you use the modular level one or that data migration one. And basically the difference, the module level, this is for individual files, like from your backup files. We use this for regular updates or to add small batches of data. It allows you to map your fields, which means if your spreadsheet says mobile phone and your database is cell phone, you can map those fields. This is found within the specific modules, like I showed you. They do require that you have a last name as a matching field. Now, the data migration is much larger and more complex. It allows me to bring in multiple entities at the same time, so I can bring in accounts and contacts and leads and notes and all kinds of stuff at the same time. This one's the one that's found under Zoho settings, data administration. And you do, when you use this level, you have to have a contact ID for every entity. And that's why this one's not going to work for most of you. Okay, tip number 9. And we're almost done. We've got a couple more slides here. Tip number 9, add your signature to simplify templates. So you put your signature in by going to setup area, channels, email, and then we've got this compose setting, and here's your signature. I literally copy and pasted mine from Outlook. That's all I did. But the cool thing about signatures is if you have templates, your signature can automatically show up in your template. This is cool if you're sending and you've got multiple users and multiple users are sending the templates. So if I send it from me, it's going to be signed by Karen. If Missy signs it, it's going to be signed by Missy, which is a great thing. So here's where this really comes into play. I've probably got 20 templates that I use in Zoho, and they all use my signature. And this was my signature for a long time. And it had this Zoho logo on it, which I think is perfectly nice. It's got the 3 products that I support, Act, HubSpot, and Zoho. But Zoho changed their logo. And every time I sent a template or something to corporate, I kind of got slapped around a little bit. We have a new logo. Why are you not using it? So I didn't want to have to change all my templates. So I just went in here and I changed the logo. Then when you go into your templates, here's an example of a template. And I pointed out the hint here. We can bring in merge fields by hitting the pound key. So I went down to the bottom of my template, hit that pound key, and I can bring in my contact fields, or I could bring in various system fields. I could bring in user fields. So I brought in a user field and I brought in my user signature. So my template now looks like this. So again, if Missy sends that template, it's going to be signed by Missy's signature. If I sign it, it's going to be signed by me. But the really genius part of it is I fixed that signature, and now every one of my templates was fixed. Didn't have to do anything else, didn't have to go into the templates. They were just automatically fixed because they were based on my signature. So that's a really great shortcut. You should be putting your signatures in your templates and creating your signatures in Zoho. Tip number 10, looking for help. People ask for help all the time. And I like to say help is right behind you, not trying to be a smart aleck. I just mean if you click your profile picture, some of you are incognito, you haven't stuck your little face up there yet. So you're going to be looking at that anonymous profile. But if you click on your profile picture, it's going to first off take you to where you can manage your accounts. Now the caveat for this, those of you that are on trials, Or those of you that are doing something wacky, like for some reason you paid for Zoho Enterprise when you actually, then you realize, oh, it would have been cheaper to go with Zoho One. And it's like, you're not really upgrading, but you're downgrading and then it's going to cost you less, but you're upgrading and you're going to get more features. So sometimes this won't work, but for the majority of you, if you just want to add another user count, maybe you want to move from Zoho Professional up to Zoho One, you can do it right from here. You have this managed subscription area, and it also tells you what level you're currently on. A lot of people say, oh, I don't know what version I'm on. Well, this is how you can tell. It also gives you all kinds of little things here. You need help. Everybody that has Zoho has support. Even if you're on a trial, you have support. So you could hit the chat button. I think they're there from like something crazy like 7 in the morning till 10 at night. So you can chat with people. You can email people. You can, if you want to call them, you can hit here and talk. You can hit these resources, and it'll take you to videos and KB articles and all kinds of training stuff. If you want to know find out what the new features are, this goes to a specific blog that's just devoted to new features. So every time they have a new feature, this is where they put it. This click here will take you right to that blog. This is something new, and I think it's so cool. I was working with a custom report for a customer last week, and we couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. Something just was holding it up. Couldn't figure it out. You can put in a support request, and you can give Zoho support access to your account. This means you don't have to give them your password, don't have to change your password when you're done, but you can give them access to your account. And again, that's in that setup area under security control, support access, and you actually limit the duration. So it's not like, oh yeah, support can go into my database for the rest of my life. It's good. I think it limits it to maybe 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. So you can set that cutoff date. Don't forget, support is for technical support. Something's not working right. It's not to help you do something. How do I set up a template? No, it's going to go in there and tell you why the template isn't working correctly. So it's not for training. It's for technical issues. I run into them very rarely. That's why I'm not really sure when they added this feature, because I haven't had to use support for a long time. Another shameful plug, you go to my website, techbenders.com. I have all kinds of fun things in there. I have the Zoho users group. Obviously, if you're on this call today, you are a member of my users group. You got an invitation. I also post all the previous events. They're all listed under events. I also put all the recordings of previous webinars on my YouTube channel. After this webinar is done, you will get an email. It will have a link to my YouTube channel. Do not race in there immediately. It takes me a day or two to get them uploaded, maybe even over the weekend. So guaranteed by Monday, you can go in, you can click that link if you want to hear this again, or if you want to see some of the other things that I have. I also have a search. How clever is that? A little magnifying glass. So in this case, somebody typed in, tell me about the Zoho CRM fields. And lo and behold, I have a blog article because I am very prolific. You all know that I've written 14 books. I write a lot. I have a lot of blog articles in there. So go in there and search, and I might just have a blog article that I wrote about the exact thing you're looking for. So I got to give you 2 quick tips here. This is where I was going to show you some new features, but I after looking at some of my clients this week and banging my head against the wall, I got to give you a couple of tips. And basically the tips are: your pick lists, your drop-down lists are a mess. Rule of thumb, drop-down lists should have anywhere from 6 to 18 items. 6 to 18 items. That doesn't mean 80. That doesn't mean 90. It means somewhere from 6 to 18 items. Example, I had a client that had customers. They had customers of widget A, customers of widget B, customers of widget C, customers of widget D, and they had about 25 products. So they had about 25 different types of customers. No, Customers should be one time in their pick list. They needed to add a second drop down list with their products. So they could look things up. They could look for products. They could look for all customers. You don't want those drop down lists to be so long that you have to try to, prospects. Are they a hot prospect? Are they a cold prospect? Or are they a medium warm prospect? No, you don't want to have it. You want to keep it simple. Keep your drop down list simple. So tip number one, we have something called global sets. A global set is a drop-down list that is applied to multiple modules. For example, you might have the field industry. Now, if you use it in your industry for your leads, you use it for your accounts, and you use it for your contacts, you can have 3 separate drop-down lists. No one's stopping you. But if you have a global drop-down list for industry, you only have 1 drop-down list to maintain. So if you decide you want to change something, you only have to add it in one place. You don't have to add it in all 3 places. That's what a global set is for. It's a drop-down list that's used states. I think there are 50 of them, not sure. Last time I checked, it was 50. I don't think you need to create 3 separate drop-down lists for states, for your accounts, your leads, your prospects, and maybe for your licenses or whatever you have in there. Global drop-down. The other feature that is so cool for cleaning up data, if you go in there and you start cleaning up this industry, and you go, oh, we've got a mess. We have something called replace values. You can hit this little ellipsis, go into replace values, and it will let you clean up your drop-down list. So maybe you were using entertainment before. You go, you know what? That's going to be part of hospitality and travel. I got too much stuff in my industry drop-down. You could just change that value. Anybody that has entertainment, you're going to switch them over to hospitality. Anybody that used to be customer before, they're now going to be called clients, or whatever you want to change. And it will change all your existing records. So you don't have to go back and change your data. This will do it for you. If you only want to change it in one individual drop-down list, same thing. Here I had a type field and I decided I had a mess. I needed to clean up this drop-down list. I hit the ellipsis. I went to replace fields. Same thing. We had friends that were resellers, and we had resellers that were friends, and we had resellers that I guess were enemies. And, it's like, hey, they're all vendors. Let's just call all of those vendors. So that's how we cleaned up that drop-down list without losing any existing data. Questions? Missy?
All right. Steve said he was going to type his in at the end, but before Steve, Lindsay says, when I try to send mass emails with a template, it now says my domain is no longer authenticated and is sending through the Zoho domain. Any thoughts on what happened or how to fix it?
Well, I don't know what happened. Probably something happened in your domain. One of the things that I think maybe in April, I'm going to do a webinar on mass emailing. But when we mass email, we have to get permission to do that. Now, if we were in Russia, we were in China, whatever, we would just go out there and we would just do, we would just start blasting away and, have at. But in the United States, we have certain spam can laws that, of course, those of us that are just trying to, earn an honest, make an honest living, have to abide by because we are in the United States. And one of those is having your domain authenticated. So if you go into the setup area under email, you will see something called deliverability. And that means there is a little piece of text messaging. Whoever hosts your emails, like if you, for your website domain, I actually have HostGator that hosts my website. So if I want to send out email blasts, I have to go to HostGator and I have to add something that they call SPF or DKIM records. The process is you go into Zoho, you can copy and paste this text, you call HostGator, and you act stupid and you say, hey, I need to add this text record. They've heard this a million times. It's the same process that you have to go through with Constant Contact or MailChimp or anything to make sure that someone is not sending under your domain. I know that's a complicated answer. I don't know why it changed. Maybe something changed on your provider. But you will want to go in there and get that text message, call up your website provider and have them put it in there for you, or whoever does your email. Okay, Missy.
All right, from Steve, I'm subscribed to Zoho One, but I'm using Zoho Contacts. What's the difference and does it matter?
If you subscribe to Zoho One, you actually have CRM Enterprise version. You have the Enterprise version. Contacts is just one of your modules. So you have your contacts module, you have your leads module, you have your accounts module, you can create other modules. But no, if you have Zoho One, you have the enterprise version of CRM. That means you have every bell and whistle that is available to Zoho CRM users.
Okay, there's another one. During beta testing, where do we send out emails from Zoho?
During beta testing, even during the beta, you can still send them out. But again, there are, and again, we'll go into email later on down the road, but we have two ways of sending email through Zoho. One is just like through regular Outlook. So 90% of the time when I'm sending, I just click on the person's email address, Outlook opens up, I'm using my regular Outlook signature. I send the email, hit send. Now Zoho will record the history back into Zoho. Now the other type of email is using a template. Now the template has nothing, in order to send that, it's exactly what I just said to Lindsay. We have to set up the domain through our registrar. So if this is one of the Sinorama people, you have to contact Max. If you're still using the old Sinorama email, you're not going to be able to send. It has nothing to do with the beta testing. It has to do with UFG. You need to have that new domain. And that's one of the reasons they're moving you to new domains, because they don't want to have to go through this procedure for you to do email blasts 1,200 times. They want to have one domain that you're all using. So that's kind of the reason there. So I know that it's a little complicated, but if you're sending blasts, we have to go through that spam compliance. We have to go in there. If you have moved over to the Sinorama domain, it's already been set up for you and it's already been authenticated and you can use it at any time. Long answer, sorry. Any other questions?
That is, whoops, let's see. Nope.
Okay.
Steve said, does it matter which one I use? That was the question about being subscribed to Zoho One, but using Zoho and then says contacts. What's the difference?
No, you don't have to. It's all one. It's all one. So I don't know if you're talking about the contact list in campaigns. That is limited to, I think it's 6,000, and those can sync over from CRM, but your Zoho One includes one CRM, and that's all your contacts. You know, if that didn't answer it, send me a screenshot, because maybe I'm not understanding what you're asking. Okay, other questions?
Nothing else that I see. I will say I understand Steve's confusion sometimes, because there will be within the CRM, there's a calendar, but there's also something called Zoho Calendar that's a separate entity. So I understand why he's maybe a little confused there, because it confuses me.
But the cool thing about Zoho One is that Zoho One includes all these different components. You know, it includes campaigns, it includes marketing automation, it includes books, and they're all designed to integrate together. So they should be synchronizing. So even if you're using projects or you're using Zoho Desk, you don't have to, your same contacts will appear in both places. You don't have to double entry. Now, that said, you can limit. Like I've got a lot of contacts in my database that I don't want in my accounting. So I've kind of filtered down the contacts that will appear in Zoho Books. But they're all meant to synchronize together. And I know sometimes it's confusing. I had one of my sign around with people signed up for, I think, 24 separate products. And yeah, I could see why they'd be really confused because they were, by signing up for separate products, they don't integrate. But when you have Zoho One, all those 24 products would be automatically integrated together. So, Steve, you shouldn't be having that problem. Send me the URL that you're looking at, or send me a screenshot, because your contacts can filter down to your Zoho Books. It could filter down into campaigns. It could filter down into support, that Zoho Desk. It could filter down into projects, anywhere you need it to.
He's got one last question. When in the contact window, can I change the top overview to not have 3 lines of data? I'd like to just see the fields.
Oh, yeah. Wait, when you're in the contact list or the contact record?
Contact window is what he's calling it. Can I change the top overview?
The top overview. Yeah, the top overview. Oh, good question. The top overview. I think we have a picture of that. Let me see if I can find a picture of that real quickly when we were doing the layouts. Maybe not.
He just typed in record. So the
Yeah.
contact record.
So if we're looking at my layouts over here, they give you something called the detail view. That's 6 fields that can show up at the top of any record. Now, if you don't want anything to show up at the top of your record, like I have mine, I want to see the contact name, I want to see their email address, I want to see what software they use. That's what I have at the top. If you don't want any of those to show up at the top of your record, go into your layouts, the standard layout, go up here to detail view, and just take them all away. That's it. Extra little like window you see at the top of a contact record. I'm trying to see a contact record. I think you mean this overview part here. Is this what you meant, Steve? These 4 fields up here at the top? If it is what I just showed you, we get rid of those. Okay. Other questions? All right.
He said yes. So I think that was what I think you got the answer.
Perfect. Not always easy. All right, guys, thank you so much. And again, we will have our next webinar next month. And I promise it will be those new features. I think I'm going to be doing email in April because there just seems to be so many questions about that. In the meantime, you know where to find me. If you have other questions, I'm always here to help. And with that, adieu and thank you, and have a lovely rest of your day. And thanks to Miss Missy for clarifying things and fielding the questions. Bye, guys.